Okay. Today I'm going to talk about strength conditioning for basically football. But one thing about strength conditioning is that it can also work with other sports. Like, for example, I was the strength coach for a professional and national team in Poland volleyball. It's interesting because it's the same muscle group that I trained for volleyball that I did for American football. And then I also trained soccer players in Poland. And basically, soccer is just like basketball. So there's certain muscle groups that, as a football player, you need to learn how to train and how to train it. First of all, there are two different types of muscle in the body. There's fast twitch and there's slow twitch. Okay, and you have to know the difference between the two. Like, for example, soccer trains both. You know, you need to train both fast twitch and slow twitch, because in soccer you run around, you jog, you run, you sprint, and then you kick the ball. So you're working slow and fast twitch. In American football, in a game that's 60 minutes, an offensive lineman or a defensive lineman might move around for at the most 10 seconds during one play. So there's no reason why we should work that position group with slow twitch. It won't do any good for them. So you have to train them to be more explosive, to be more powerful, to be stronger. And you might want to train a little bit different, just a teeny bit different, to a defensive back, because the defensive back will move around probably a little bit longer on a play. Let me give you an example. A game of 60 minutes, a defensive back might move around during a whole entire game 4 minutes out of 60 minutes. Okay? So you have to train for that position. Defensive lineman, maybe 3.5 minutes will move around. So that's what I'm trying to explain, is a fast twitch, slow twitch. So we got to learn how to train the fast twitch. Now, what is a fast twitch muscle fiber? A fast twitch muscle fiber is a muscle that is explosive, okay, and quick. So how do you train a fast twitch muscle? First of all, you can train it. The muscles have a memory. Your muscles remember. So if you train a muscle in a new way, that muscle will start remembering that way of training. Okay, so if you want to train your muscles to be more fast twitch, it will do so. You'll never get to 100% fast twitch. That's just impossible. But you can actually make that muscle maybe 10% to 15% more fast twitch. Okay, so how do you do that? You do that with sets and reps. Okay, if you want a fast twitch muscle, you don't want to do more than 6 reps of an exercise. Okay, does that make sense to everybody? If you do more than 6 reps, you're now going into the slow twitch. Now, my wife was a bodybuilder for 15 years. I trained her, but I never trained her in a fast twitch. Why? Slow twitch is big muscle. Okay, if you want big muscles, it's a slow twitch muscle fiber. That's what gets me about players going, oh, I want to get all muscular to play American football. Well, when I see a muscular player, I already know that person's not going to be able to play at his top level, or he's not going to be very explosive because he has a lot of slow twitch muscle. So if you have a real muscle-bound a player, he's going to have to learn how to train that muscle differently, okay? Because he's training it wrong. So to train a fast twitch muscle, you have to be less than 6 reps, all right? Now, does everybody understand reps and sets?
How many sets, please?
Huh?
How many sets?
Okay. Now, when you're doing less reps, you need to do more sets.
Oh.
Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
So if let's say you're doing 6 to 1 rep, you have to pick up the sets while you're going down in the reps. Okay, so let's say you at once, let's say 3 weeks or 4 weeks into your training, you want to find out how strong you are. All right, so you're now doing 1 rep. Well, you're now going to probably do 7 to 10 sets of 1 rep of a very heavy weight. Okay, if you're doing 6 reps, you probably want to do 4 to 5 sets of the exercise. Does everybody understand that?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's say I'm doing chest and I want to work on my fast twitch. I want to do, okay, starting, I want to do, let's say, 4 sets of 6 of that weight. Okay, 4 sets of 6 or 5 sets of 5. Okay, so if I'm doing 5 sets of 5, how I go about it is I will go up 5 to 10% on each set. So the last set of 5 will be a struggle. Okay, but the ones before are very explosive. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Now, what you want to do, all right, everybody write this down. When you're working on fast twitch, you want to get about 25 sets when you're working out. I always told my players 20 to 25 sets. Now, that doesn't mean 1 exercise. That means maybe 3 to 4 exercises for the chest. Okay? So whenever you're trying to work out your fast twitch, you want to sit there and say, okay, this day I'm working my chest. I'm going to do 20 to 25 sets. So how many exercises? Okay, so if I'm doing 25 sets, divide that by 5. So that's 5 exercises. So you got to figure out working 5 exercises of 5 sets for that area of your body. Okay?
Yes. That obviously means more weight.
Yes. Yes. I always had my players. Now, it doesn't mean more weight right away. Okay? I used to, like, for example, I used to start out my players at 5 sets of 5. And they would do the same weight for those 5 sets just to get the muscles memory going again. I wouldn't go heavy right away. I would start going heavy after about a month. Okay, that's when I would start hitting the 90 to 95 to 100% of their max. And then after that month, I might even go 110%, which, you know, a lot of players go 110%. Yes, I would expect them to try, because the only way you're going to get stronger is by pushing a weight you can't do. That's realistic. Right, so let's say some of you are trying to bench 315 pounds and you're 50 pounds away from it. What you got to do after a month is actually start putting 315 pounds on the bar and struggle with it. Now, how long, let's say you can't even lift it. How long should you struggle with it? I always told my players 10 seconds. You want to struggle at that weight. Even if you can't do it, struggle with it for 10 seconds. All right? Usually have a spotter helping you up for those 10 seconds. What's that doing? That's actually working your fast twitch and actually making your memory of knowing that you can actually push that weight. Very, very important. Struggle. Don't just do a weight you can do. Do a weight you can't do with a spotter that you struggle with. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So that's how you're going to get. Now, here's the thing about athletes. I think I said this in the last clinic. Athletes will go in the weight room and they don't want to be embarrassed. They're going to do what they can do. So they're going to go to the bench. They're going to go put on a weight that they can do, and they're going to get on the bench and do it. They're not going to struggle. Usually they don't have a spotter. Okay. So really that workout is wasted. You should always have a partner when you work out. Why? Because you're going to then push it. You're going to have a spotter that sits there and says, all right, well, we're going to do heavier this month, and we're going to go for 100% to 110%. Well, you got a spotter. You're going to be safe. Okay. But at the same time, you're going to struggle with it. Now, when I say struggle, that means you're going to do the movement with help all the way to the extension. You don't want to struggle with it where you're just stuck at 10 seconds with it not moving, which is that is an exercise, but you want to get the body used to pushing that weight even with help. And then just keep on fighting and struggling with that weight. And I guarantee you will be able to do it in a period of time. I mean, I'll give you an example. I had guys that I trained that couldn't even bench 225 pounds. By the end of the 6 or 7 weeks of training, they could do 315. And how do they do it? Because they learned to struggle. They tried. Instead of sitting there going, oh, I can't do it, I'm going to stick with the weight I can do. Okay? Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, another key component that I used to do with a workout. You always want to have an opposite muscle exercise as well. So if you're doing a chest day where you're working your chest, right after you do that chest exercise, because that's a push, okay? There's different types of lifts. You got to push, you got to pull, okay? You got to squat, and you got to hinge. And I'm going to explain those to you, all right? Because when you get that idea, you're going to really be able to make some workouts that are going to help you be better football players, all right? Now, what I had my players do is when they would do a bench, they would finish that set, okay? And right away, we would do a superset, okay? So write down superset. What a superset is that you're going to do the push, and then you're going to run over and do the pull, all right? So I used to have my players, right after they finished the bench press, they would run over to the pull-up bar, and they would do pull-ups at the same reps and the same sets, okay? So if I was having someone do 5 sets of 5 of a bench exercise, they would do 5 sets of 5 at the pull-up bar. So it's almost identical. You know, you're going back and forth. Now, there's been a lot of studies that sit there and say your strength will get a lot better by doing supersets. All right. And what you got to do is start thinking about different muscle groups. Like, for example, if you're doing a curl on arm day, if you're doing a curl, the superset is the tricep. So if I'm doing a curl 5 sets of 5, I have to have a tricep exercise, okay, at 5 sets of 5. Does that all make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Now, everybody understand what a fast twitch muscle is?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. Football, you have to just work fast twitch. Even with your conditioning, you got to work your fast twitch. There is no reason why you should actually run long distance if you're training for American football. You're actually hurting your performance. So if you're conditioning by going out and running 3 or 4 miles, you're hurting yourself as a football player. Okay? So what you got to think, now I'm talking conditioning fast twitch as well. So if you're a football player, how many, and I can tell you college-wise, a normal college football player will go 60 to 70 reps a game. Okay. So what I used to do is sit there and say, okay, if they're doing 60 or 70 reps a game, I'm going to condition at the period of time that they're running during that rep. So the max amount of time that I ever thought that somebody was running during a football play was 10 seconds. So my conditioning would be set up just for fast twitch as well. So I would do something where they would run 60 reps of 7 to 10 seconds. All right?
Wait, what do you mean? In the gym or on the field?
On the field.
On the field.
Okay? I'm going to tell you both how to work your fast twitch. This is on the field.
So we never work our...
Does that include hill sprints too?
Hill sprints are perfect. I'm telling you, if you're doing hill sprints, that is awesome. But don't do hill sprints more than 10 seconds.
All right, coach.
Okay. Now, what I used to do with the hill sprints is I used to have them run up sideways. I would have them run up backwards. I would have them crawl up. Okay. Because you got to understand, your conditioning is not just your legs. We used to actually do conditioning with our upper body as well. So some days at 6 a.m., I would only have upper body conditioning because your body actually is conditioning with all the muscles. So, if you start getting into the working out and training these athletes, you got to think, if I'm doing 4 days straight of conditioning with the legs, I'm beating the legs down. So you might want to go three times with the legs and one time figuring out what you could do with the upper body. Like I used to actually have them do the wheelbarrow, where one guy would be holding the legs of the player and the other player would be moving their arms while they're going for 10 seconds. And then they'd switch and go the other way. They'd go forward, they'd go backwards, they'd go sideways. Well, guess what? You're getting conditioning, but you're not breaking your legs down as much as well. Or I would have a ladder where they would actually, do the ladder with their hands for 10 seconds. Does everybody understand that?
Yeah, but are there any other exercises to train your conditioning with your upper body?
You got the wheelbarrow. You got we used to do a lot of up downs, but I would actually do the up downs quickly. I'd blow the whistle quickly, where they wouldn't be jogging in place for a long period of time. They'd basically, I'd blow the whistle, they hit the ground, pop up. I'd blow the whistle, they hit the ground, pop up. I wouldn't have them run in place because then I'm working slow twitch and I'm also working their lower body. So a lot of times if you're on a soft surface like a mat or grass or somewhere where there's a soft surface, just have them do up downs. Okay. And that teaches them a lot because you're working your upper body fast twitch. Okay. And on top of it, it's teaching the guys how to get up, because in a game of football, very seldom do you actually run to the ball and not fall down. You're going to fall down 50% of the time. Someone's going to knock you down, you're going to trip, or you're going to fall over somebody, or you're going to tackle somebody and then fall down, or you're going to block somebody and fall down. So you got to start teaching these guys how to get fall down and get back up quickly. And then I used to do a lot of the up downs without running in place for 10 seconds. So they would do probably 5 to 7 up downs during that 10 seconds, where I'd go boop and then hit, boop, hit, boop, hit. And they're working their upper body. They're not working their lower body because you're pushing yourself up. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. That really helps because you're doing 2 things. 1, you're working your upper body fast twitch. 2, you're teaching the guys to get off the ground quickly because you're going to fall down. Okay. I mean, like offensive line. When I played offensive line, I'll tell you, I'd block somebody, and at the end of the play, I'd cut them. So basically, I'm hitting the ground every play. While I'm blocking somebody, let's say I'm moving them 4 feet, and then towards the end of the play, I cut him because I want him on the ground. Because now when he's on the ground, he can't make the play. So as an offensive lineman, let's say I'm doing 70 reps. I'm going to be on the ground 50 reps. All right. So that fast twitch conditioning for the upper body is teaching the guys how to get off the ground quickly. It's conditioning them. Okay. It's a different condition. They're going to be more tired because how often are you actually conditioning your upper body muscles? See, let's say if I'm training somebody and they're just running a straight line, their body's going to get a memory and it's going to be easy for them to run that straight line after a while. Why? Because the body's getting conditioned to it. Now, if I change that up where they're running in a straight line and then backwards, sideways, up and down, starting from the down position, hopping, okay, because in football, you're not going to just run, you're going to be jumping over bodies. So I would have my guys hop on one leg, two legs, forward, backwards. Guess what? These guys are huffing and puffing. They're dying. And they're like, Coach, why am I dying now? Because I'm telling them, you're working a different muscle group. So with conditioning, you say you're doing hills, that's brilliant. Okay, I did a whole article on hill training 10 years ago. And if you can actually work out different movements, like for example, if you're a defensive back, go up backwards. Treat it just like you're doing a defensive back drill. Okay? Go up backwards, go up forward, go up sideways like you're dropping in the zone. Okay? Hop. Why? Because as a DB, you're going for the ball at the highest point. So you're going to have to train that body to do that. And then also, I used to have my players run down the hill. If it was a grass hill, I'd have them run down it. Now, why would I do that? Well, when you're running down a hill, your legs have no idea that it's running down a hill. All it knows is that the legs are moving faster, which has to do with memory, muscle memory. If my legs are moving faster, your legs are going to remember that you're moving at that rate. So I used to have them run up and then run down the hill. And on top of it, when they would run down the hill, the body would have to learn how to slow itself down, which is a part of keeping yourself healthy. That works the ligaments, all right? Because you got to learn how to start slowing down. When you start learning to slow down, the body actually strengthens itself. Okay, so for example, if I had guys with weak knee ligaments, I would have them jog down the hill, slowing down to strengthen those ligaments. So use both of the hill, up and down. Does that make sense?
So you're basically like conditioning the body and at the same time doing more force absorption training when it comes to ligaments and stuff. Yes.
Yes. Now, obviously, I'd be real careful with the ligaments. But yes, exactly. So, for example, sometimes I'd have them run down the hill, and I'd tell them to, run, slow down, and they would have to widen their base, chop their feet, and that was actually helping their, develop the muscles and the ligaments so that they were stronger. Because if you're just running in a straight line, conditioning, you're conditioning your heart, you're conditioning your lungs, but you're not actually getting yourself into a football shape and also football conditioning. And you might actually even kind of lead yourself to an injury because you're getting the body memory just to run forward. Now, let me explain. Football injuries, most serious football injuries happen because somebody's in a funny position and they get hit. Okay? So what you want to do is get your body conditioning in funny positions, in football positions, so that the body's not surprised when you're in a 45-degree, put your hands up or something, and someone hits you. Okay? Your body's not surprised by that. You've been trained with that. So injuries will go down if you learn how to condition fast twitch, okay, football-wise, in football movements. All right? So, for example, if I'm a receiver and I'm going up to the ball to catch it and someone hits me, well, if you're just running in a straight line, you're probably going to get hurt. But if you're actually training certain muscles, running sideways, running backwards, hopping, so on and so forth, getting up and down on the ground, you're probably going to be a little bit stronger conditioning wise to probably keep injuries from happening. And that also has to do with the weight training, which I'll also go into as well. Okay, does that make sense?
Yes, coach.
Yes, coach.
Hello, everybody. I mean, all right. Now, with the training, as a team, what I used to do is conditioning wise, I would find out when our team was playing well or not playing well. And that's when I would do the conditioning. So for example, if we were not a good first quarter team, if the team just seemed just terrible at the start of the game, what I would do is I would condition the players at the start of practice, because obviously the heat, coming out in the first quarter, the first 4 or 5 games in America are usually in the 90-degree. So I would sit there and go, okay, they're tired because they came out of the locker room. They're hot. They're not used to it. Whatever. So I would do the conditioning when they're at the weakest during the game. And you'll know by looking at the quarter. So for example, if you're giving up more scores and you're scoring less in the first quarter, well, you know that you're a weak first quarter team. So I would condition, and really it has to do with strength and conditioning if you're playing badly in certain quarters. Okay, so I would do conditioning at the beginning of practice if we were a weak first quarter team. Now, if we lost the fourth quarter, okay, let's say in the fourth quarter we were a terrible team, well, then I would do my fast twitch conditioning at the end of practice. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm trying to get rid of the weakness of what's going on. All right. So for example, if we're playing a day game and the temperature is going to be 90 degrees or hotter, I'm going to condition at the beginning of practice and at the end of practice, because I want to be a good first quarter team and I want to be a good fourth quarter team, and I want to be conditioned football wise. Okay. Now, if I'm playing a night game and the temperature is going to be in the 70s, I'll just condition where I feel that I saw with stats where we're a weak team. What quarter? Okay. You're going to see a huge improvement when you stop conditioning with jogging and just running in a straight line. You're going to see a huge improvement. You're going to see over a period of time, you're going to see the guys actually be more explosive in their running and their jumping and so on and so forth. Okay. Also, you're going to see a big improvement in the way you perform during the game. Right now. Okay. So a few of the things. One, figure out ways to condition your upper body during conditioning. Okay. Not all the time, but you got to break it up. So let's say you do 3 lower body conditioning and 1 upper body conditioning. Okay. Now, how did I break it up? Well, if I was having a leg day lifting wise, I would not condition my legs that day because I would waste the lift. My players would be exhausted and they weren't going to be able to lift heavy because I had conditioned their legs. So their legs are going to be sore because of the conditioning. So what I would do on a leg day is I would use upper body conditioning on the leg day. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So if I'm going to have my players doing a leg lift, a squat, or a hinge lift, I would use my conditioning for the upper body that day. So the legs were fresh to be able to get the most out of their legs during that lift. Now, if I was doing a push day, then obviously I would use a leg conditioning day or a pull day. You got a push and a pull. So I would do on a pull day, I would actually also use the leg conditioning. Then on the leg day, I would use what? Someone answer. What kind of conditioning I would use on a leg lift day?
Upper body conditioning.
Yes. And what does that consist of?
Like training arms, training like triceps, chest.
Yes. Yes. And then with the conditioning, I would do up down without them running in place. Perfect. Okay. Or I'd do the wheelbarrow where they're moving with the guy holding onto the legs. Okay. And you do it the same way. And I'll tell you, you're going to find the players are going to be exhausted because the body's not used to that. People don't condition their upper body, but the heart and the lungs get the same benefit. Probably more. Okay? Now, let me ask you a question. What's the most important body part for a football player? Muscle-wise. Can anyone answer that?
I guess the back.
The back?
Yeah.
Close. Go a little lower.
Hamstrings, glutes.
Butt.
The glutes, yeah.
Your butt. That is the largest muscle in the whole body. And also the butt is the most used muscle in American football. You never think about that. And how many exercises do strength coaches have for the butt? They don't even think about it. But the butt is the most explosive muscle that you have in American football. When you jump, when you sprint, when you tackle, when you block, it all starts with the butt, and you said back, which is the core. So I always count the butt and the core about the same. But when you're doing a hinge or a leg day, you better get some butt exercises in there because that's explosive. Okay, so if you get anything out of this clinic, you better start finding ways of working your butt. Now, obvious ways is squat, deadlift. Okay, squat and deadlift. What other ones? Hip thrusts. One leg, two leg. I always like to do auxiliary lifts with one leg. Why? As an athlete, if I'm squatting, how often as a football player am I actually, my feet are to get even? Now, they're always going to be like, they're always going to be different. So a lot of my auxiliary lifts, other than squat, would be a stagger. So I do lunges. I would do step-ups. I would use individual legs as my auxiliary lifts.
Would, for example, Bulgarian split squat be considered a good exercise?
Yes, great exercise. Now, let me give you an example. When I was the strength coach for the Polish team, for the volleyball, I knew nothing about volleyball. I didn't care. I love the sport, okay? But what I did is for the first week, before they told them I was hired, I would go to their practices and I'd watch what the girls were doing, how they were turning their body or spiking. I was watching what muscle groups were they using, to perform the best. And that's also, as a strength coach, what you got to do is watch what you do as a position, okay, and sit there and get, okay, so what body parts do I have to make strong as an offensive lineman? Well, first of all, I got to make my my feet have to be stronger. People don't think about that because I hate to get off the subject. First thing I do is I find out where the top 4 or 5 injuries. So when someone hires me, I go to the doctor and I find out where the 4 or 5 worst injuries, what they are rated. And in American football, it's knee, concussion head, feet, and hands. So right there, I would sit there and go, okay, these injuries took players out off the team for a period of time. How do I stop these injuries from happening so we don't lose players? Okay, so first of all, I would find out, okay, so feet, there's an injury. Ankle twists, okay, bone bruises, things like that. So I would actually spend a little bit of time having them walk on their tippy toes around the weight room. Like, I don't know if you ever heard of you're carrying weights around. I forget the term. I can't even think.
Farmer's walk.
Yeah, farmer's walk. Yes, I'm sorry. So they would walk around on their tippy toes, farmer's walks. So what are they doing? They're strengthening their feet at the same time, strengthening their hands. Okay, so I'm dealing with two injuries right there by having them walk around on their tippy toes, farmer's walks, working on two areas of injuries. So guess what? Those two areas of injuries went down. Okay, so the next one was concussions. So majority of concussions happen because the neck. People aren't strengthening the neck anymore. Now what's happening? Well, people are hitting and their neck is so weak now that the head goes back, hits the ground, or snaps back, and that's where the concussion happens. The next thing is the mouthpiece. Well, the mouthpiece is easy. Just keep your mouthpiece in. But I started strengthening the necks again. So there was a drop in concussions. So now there's 3 injuries that are dropping. Now, what was the last one? Knees. So I would sit there and go, okay, what exercises can I do as auxiliary to make sure the knees are protected? So what I would do with auxiliary lifts, like you were saying about the split squats and so on and so forth, I would have them go a quarter of the way down, up, halfway down, up, full down. Why? Because the ligaments need to be strengthened, and they're strengthened by different movements. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Yes, coach.
Okay. So what you want to do to strengthen the knees is actually go different levels. Don't always go all the way down. Like, for example, if you're a football player and you're tackling somebody, you're not bending all the way down to make the contact. You might only bend down that far. Well, you're going to have to strengthen that depth. Okay, so I would go, as the auxiliary lifts, I would go quarter, half, then full. So right there, I dealt with those injuries. Now, I would go in and ask, how many total injuries did this club have? One, I can tell you, they said that total injuries on the football team of 120 players during the year, there was over 200 injuries. Now, small to big. Okay, and that's why I asked for the top 4 or 5. Okay, after doing this, concentrating on strengthening the areas of injuries, it dropped down to 125. And guess what? The team started winning. Why? We weren't playing true freshmen. We weren't playing guys that weren't ready to play. And we were playing the guys that were supposed to play. The moment you stop injuries, okay, you're going to keep the players playing. And you're not going to have to play players that aren't ready. Because if a player's not ready, then they're going to get hurt because they're not confident and they haven't had enough experience to get there yet. Okay. Now the big thing is with concussions. Now in America, if the trainer says you have a concussion, you're out for more than a week. I mean, you're done. Sometimes for 2 weeks. So it was very, very important for me to stop the concussions. Now again, what were the exercises I told you to stop concussions?
Neck exercise.
Neck exercise.
Yeah, next exercises. Also, always keep your mouthpiece in. I mean, think about it. If you saw a boxer or a MMA fighter without the mouthpiece in, do you think they would allow them to fight?
Nope.
No. But the thing is what's going on with American football is they're not caring about the mouthpiece anymore. That's why there's so many concussions. It's because no more strength coaches are paying attention to the neck, and the referees and the leagues aren't paying attention with the mouthpiece. They're allowing the mouthpiece to be cut and stuck up in the corner of the helmet. Well, kids are going to forget it's in the corner of the helmet. So right there, concussions went down, and I didn't lose players up to 2 weeks. All right, so let's go over the
Wait,
top injuries.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Are these exercises going to our main workouts or just on the side? If you see what I mean.
Okay, when I say auxiliary, so for example, let's say you're doing a leg day, okay? The auxiliary part, so we would have squat, obviously. We would have deadlift. That could be a hinge day as well. But I would do frontal squat, back squat, okay? 2 different squats. And then the auxiliary lift would be them walking around on their tippy toes, farmer's walk. Does that make sense?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So what you can do is stick those auxiliary lifts that help with the injuries in with that day of lift. So I said there's going to be 25 sets. So that could be 5 exercises: frontal squat, back squat, okay, and then what? 2 or 3 auxiliary lifts, a split squat, and then farmer's walk on your tippy toes.
What
Does that make
about
sense?
what about finger? You said fingers can get injured too. How do we reinforce them?
Okay. The farmer's walk. Remember, you hold on to the bar while you're walking around with the farmer's walk?
Oh yeah, sorry.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
one. Also, in the last clinic, I told you to do when you do pull-ups, don't just do pull-ups on a bar. Get a towel and do your pull-ups holding on to a towel. What does that do? It works on your grip. It works on your fingers. Now that's going to be your chest day, your push day, okay? Or your pull day.
I have a question, Coach.
Yes.
I'm a wide receiver and I design my own workouts, and
Okay.
I tend to have a full upper body strength day and a full lower body strength day. Is that okay?
No, that's fine. But the thing is okay, I didn't get into it. Now, very, very important. If you want to work your fast twitch and get stronger for football, what you want to do is only work chest 1 day a week, back 1 day a week.
Yes,
Legs.
that's exactly what I did.
Okay, perfect. Because if you don't get enough rest, your body will not recover, and that fast twitch won't get to where you want it to be. Because if you lift, and I'm not saying you, I'm saying a lot of people will just go and lift 6 days a week. Well, first of all, they're breaking down the muscle. They're not letting it rest and recover. Okay. And lastly, is that you're going to start getting slow twitch. Your muscles might get bigger because a big muscle is a damaged muscle. I know that sounds weird, but if you have big muscles, that means you've been lifting where you've damaged, you've torn that muscle. It's big because it's damaged. You don't want to have damaged muscles while you're playing American football. If you have damaged muscles while you're playing American football, 1, you're not going to perform as well as you can, and 2, you're going to get hurt. All right? That's why I used
So
to have.
basically, it should never work on hypertrophy. It should always be strength or conditioning.
Yes. Now, after football, if you want to go look good at the beach or wherever, then go ahead. Go do it. I mean, when I was young, after I played football, I lifted to get bigger. Of course I did. But I didn't do it while I was playing. And that's the thing you're going to unfortunately, that's what I have to deal with college athletes, is that a lot of the college athletes want to get bigger because they want to look good. And I'm sitting there, I try to convince them, what do you want? You want to look good or you want to play good? And that's the convincing I have to do with some of these guys, because they think a big muscle is actually somebody who's going to perform well. And that's not true.
Most people want to be big because they want to intimidate other people, but it's not really going to make you look fast.
Exactly. But you know what's really intimidating? When a guy that's not big freaking levels you. That's intimidating. Because I can tell you one thing.
Yeah.
When I played college ball, I played linebacker and center. But my first year, I played linebacker. And I did a drill as a true freshman. I went against this guy that had a body like a freaking, I don't know, he looked like a Raggedy Ann doll. It was disgusting. And I'm sitting there going, I'm going to truck this guy. I have never been hit so hard in my whole life. I was like, I thought my spine went through my throat. And I looked at that guy and I went, how the hell is the guy look like that, hit like that? And that was intimidating. You think I really want to go get clocked by that guy again? No way. And to this day, that's almost 35 years ago. I still remember that day I got clocked. And he just walked away like it was nothing. So, again, you can look intimidating, but after the first play, if you're explosive, you're going to laugh and go, this is going to be a fun day because I'm going to destroy you.
Yeah, because at the end, it's all about physics.
Exactly. Very true.
Yeah.
Very, very true. Yeah, you guys sound very advanced. I'm glad that, you guys are doing this and you're learning.
So, Coach, I have a question. Talking about positions like strengthening and conditioning, it's all depends about like positions. Let's talk like linebacker or tight end.
Yes.
They should be like quick and they should be like strong at the same time.
Yes. Okay. That's what the fast twitch is. Basically, what like when you watch the Olympic lifters, okay,
yeah,
doing the clean or the clean and jerk, okay, what you're watching is fast twitch.
Yep.
Okay, they're strong and they're strong up to 10 seconds. That's why if you see someone doing the clean and they're sitting there kind of holding the weight before they're going to jerk it, and if they hold it too long, I sit there and go, it ain't happening.
Yeah.
Because they've gone into the slow twitch. When I see a guy, Olympic women or man doing the clean and they catch it and they stand up and they go right to it, I know they're going to get the lift because they still have that fast twitch. Fast twitch will last up to 12 seconds. Then it's done.
All right.
Okay, now let me teach you about how to condition that fast twitch so it recovers quickly. Okay? Now, in college football, you're talking 60 to 70 reps. All right. Now, whoever said about that hill training, very, very good. Now, how I used to use the hill training was I would have the guys run up the hill, either backwards, forward, sideways, or whatever, and they would run back down, okay? And I'd give them, okay, how many seconds before each play do you guys have in Morocco or whatever African country you guys are from? How many seconds do you have between each play?
Say like 5 or 10.
How many seconds?
5
30
to
seconds,
10.
right?
Or maybe less sometimes.
Okay, it's usually 30 seconds, okay? So the body needs, the fast twitch needs to be recovered in 30 seconds. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, that is the most amount of time I would give my players to rest before the next rep. So right away, I'm training my athletes, okay, for the period of time of the rest. All right, so if they're running hills, when they're down to the hill, I would give them 30 seconds at the beginning of rest, and then they would do the next rep. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Every week, I would cut down 5 seconds. So the next week, I would have them do the rep, and I would have them rest for 25 seconds. What am I doing? I'm teaching the body to recover quicker. And then the next week, what I'd go to 20 seconds. What am I doing? I'm teaching the body to recover quicker. So by the 5th or 6th week, guess what? They're running up the hill, coming back down. I'm giving them 5 seconds. They're running up the hill, running down. That's how you know that your muscles are conditioned. The less amount of time it takes you to recover, the better conditioned you are. So when I'd have the guys lift, I would give them 30 seconds before they'd get into their next set. So if it was a push and pull, they would go from the bench press to the pull-up bar, 30 seconds, do the lift, the pull-ups, 30 seconds, they would come back to do the lift.
Does that count, the 30 seconds, does that count for Olympic lifts too? Like
Yes.
hang cleans and high pulls? Okay.
Yes. Now, we had a problem at times because I lifted heavy. A lot of times it took a lot of time to put more weight on. So sometimes it went to a minute. Why? You had to put the weight on. You had to take the weight off. So a lot of times it took a lot longer because of the weights being unloaded, loaded, so on and so forth. But that was the idea of what we were trying to do, was we're trying to condition the body and the fast twitch to recover in 30 seconds or less. Because I can tell you one thing. I played at one of the top high schools in the country, okay? We're only one of the only undefeated 14-0 teams. We would play teams. We were so conditioned correctly that we would play teams and they'd be exhausted by the end of the first quarter, and we knew that we were going to put on another 40 points easy. Because the moment you get tired and you lose your fast twitch, you're done. You're going to start standing up. You're going to start playing badly. You're going to start complaining. You're going to want to get a rest. You're going to tell people to come in. You're done. And psychologically, the team that's conditioned is going to know that they're going to be able to win, because from that point on, you're going to be freaking destroying these guys. And that's what I used to do when I worked with the soccer players and the girls volleyball, was basically I'd train them the volleyball just like football. And when they were going into their third set, these girls were freaking jumping higher and spiking harder than they were doing on the first. Does that make sense?
Yes, coach. I have a question.
Yeah.
I have been doing some research about French contrast training. Have you ever heard about that?
French
contrast training.
Tell me kind of, I haven't heard of it, but tell me kind of, because it could be named something different here.
It's basically lifting pretty heavy weight and then going immediately into an explosive version of the same movement. Like, for example, a box squat with about 225 pounds, and then a box jump, a high box jump for 5 reps each.
I used to, yes, that's very good. Now, let me tell you why that's good. What we used to do, okay, and I was going to get into this maybe another day, but briefly, on leg day, halfway through our workout, we'd be in the weight room for an hour and 15 minutes. Halfway through, I would take them up to the gym, to the basketball court, and I'd have them run sprints. And then we'd go back down and finish the lift with the legs. That's kind of what you're doing, but you're probably going from each lift. But yeah, that was kind of what we were doing, is that right away we were getting that muscle that we were training into the sprint, and then coming back down and finishing it. Now, all these ideas, what I would do is I'd find all the Olympic tests, all the facts from certain studies, and I would sit there and say, okay, this theory, or this is what one country. I got a lot of my ideas from the Soviet Union. I'm an old guy. Okay, so if they do something and there's a 5% gain in strength, I would sit there and say, okay, I'm going to use that. If there was another thing that said 2% gain, I would try to put that in. I would try to put in all these improvements in my exercises, and let's say it would add up to 35%. I'm sitting there going, okay, by doing little things of all this stuff that I would integrate with my workout, I would expect my players to get 35% stronger or more explosive, and usually did even more. So if this study of the French type of working out actually has a study that tells you that their athletes gained, let's say, 7% in strength, then yes, use it, work it in.
Yes, there are a lot of studies about that, and it shows a lot of increase, especially in explosiveness.
Okay, guess what? That's all football. Do it.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. Now, very, very, I don't know if I talked to you before, but if you're doing a plyo, I only did plyos maybe once or twice a week. But at the same time, I would protect my athletes when they do plyos. I would get a gymnastic mat and have them jump and do the plyos on the mat to try to take away the pounding that they get on the court. Because they're like a volleyball player. They're jumping 100 times in a match. Well, they're in a way kind of doing a plyo, not the way I would do it. But the thing is I wouldn't want them I don't want to increase the chance of injury. So I'd actually, anytime I do an exercise, I would do something to protect them as well.
Well, yes, coach. We have talked about that before, and I wanted to implement the same exact concept with my training, except sometimes we have to sprint, and we can't sprint anywhere but on the dirt. So in the gym, I have to do plyos, and then I have to leave and sprint on the dirt. So there's no way of protecting my body.
No, I mean, now let me explain. When I would tell my players to run, when they would go and run, when they would go home, and because at Division II, we couldn't keep them on campus all year long, so they would go home. And sometimes I would tell my players to run on uneven ground. Why? What is that? What does an athlete benefit from running on uneven ground, like dirt or a hard ground or a mountain or a hill? What's the benefit of that?
More ankle conditioning?
Yes, exactly. Feet and ankles getting stronger.
Yes, it does take away the risk of injury, but does that mean that we run more risk of getting something like a shin splint, for example?
Yeah, I got shin splints. When I was an athlete, I got shin splints, and I'm telling you, it was a pain in the rear. And you can't, there's nothing you really can do about it except get a shot, which obviously it's club sports, you don't get shots, but that was the only way you can get rid of the pain. So you got to be careful in that sense. All right, now, some other ideas that I always share off the clinics I do on strength training. Don't wear gloves when you lift. Don't use straps. And don't use a belt. If you're using a belt to do your deadlift or your squats, your core is weak. So you better start working your core. And your core is your stomach, your back, and your butt. Now, if you're wearing straps to do a deadlift or a clean, that means your hands are weak. So stop using things that actually hurt you from what you need to develop. So gloves, I always had the guys actually hold the bar. I like when they would get calluses. You know, calluses are fine. I also did not like the straps. Why? They weren't getting their grip stronger. And then I wouldn't want them to wear the belt. First of all, the belt, worst thing. Terrible. You got to strengthen your core. And if you're and the deadlift is awesome because you're working your core. And if you're wearing a belt, you're now not working your core anymore. You're using the belt. Does that make sense?
I don't. Yes, coach. I've never used a belt or any gloves or straps whatsoever. I think the whole benefit of the exercise is to not use anything because we're not using anything on the field anyway.
Exactly. No, perfect.
It's just based on our oxygen tank. Let's consider the core as an oxygen tank. You fill the core like the stomach, and they try to push or pull with it, and then the core like strengthen like this. So nothing will happen to you.
Exactly. Now, with the core exercises, what I would have my players do is a twisting action. Okay? I wouldn't have them do sit-ups. I wouldn't have them do crunches. That's a waste. That's terrible. What you want to do for an athlete, I used to do a lot of Russian twists. Basically, what you want to think about your core is it's a twisting action. And what you want to do is that with some resistance to strengthen your whole core, your stomach, your back, you know, everything by doing the twisting action. I would do it on their knees, the Russian twist. I would have them do it standing up. Okay. I would have them do ab rolls, 2 arms, 1 arm. Okay. And I would do all different types of core just so, because think about it. If you go to open up a door and you grab the doorknob, first thing you do is you tighten your core. Everything you do, your core is involved. So you better strengthen your core if you want to be a good athlete. I mean, I was blown away when I was working out athletes in Poland and Romania. I was blown away that they were Olympic athletes and they worked no core. It blew my mind. If you want to be the best athlete you can be, you better work your core. And the core is a muscle. It's a muscle group. You can't do it with just your body weight. You got to treat it like other muscles. You got to train it 5 sets of 5 with some kind of resistance. You can't work your core by just doing a crunch. That does nothing. That's like me doing curls with no weight. Is that going to help my bicep? Absolutely not. So you're doing the same thing with your core. If you don't have a weight or resistance, your core is not going to get stronger. And a 6-pack doesn't mean your core's strong. I could have a beer gut and have a stronger core.
Coach, is a medicine ball a good way to train your core, especially if you're twisting it, let's say, and throwing it into a wall or something?
Yes.
Okay. I use that as an exercise, but at the same time, I hit it on the ground, like in a linear motion, like from up to down.
Absolutely. Now, what I did with the Olympic players is I would have those big balance balls, and I'd have them actually in a plank position on those big balance balls, you know, those things that people sit on and stuff.
Yeah.
And I'd actually have them walk the balance ball up a certain distance and then walk it back in a plank position with the ball. So they'd be working their whole entire core in a plank position with the ball going forward, backwards, sideways, because you got to work different sides of the core. If I always go forward with my core exercise, then I'm only working that certain part of my core. I better start working my obliques as well. So I'd have the girls or the soccer players, because in soccer, you're constantly twisting. So I'd have them go sideways with the plank on the ball. So again, what I'm trying to teach you guys is you can make up stuff. Find out what you do as a position group and make up exercises. Like the most I learned, I'm telling you right now, the most I learned is I told you before in the last clinic, I dated a ballerina in Australia, and I used to go watch her work out, and I was blown away. And I thought, how can I do this with resistance? And I can guarantee I can make a better football player or soccer player or whatever. And that's how I learned. I made up stuff. Most of the weight lifts and stuff that you watch on YouTube is all made up anyway. People copy it. So if you can come up with a core exercise that's going to help you as a receiver, make it up. But it better have resistance. Make sense?
Yes, coach. So especially when it comes to core, I think as a receiver, since you're gonna be mid-air, you have to twerk your body to where the cornerback can't get the ball. So your core has to be strong. You can use, like, let's say for example, a strength band or a medicine ball or something to get the same effect.
Yes.
Instead of doing just twists with no weight.
Yes. And what I was explaining, while you're in midair twisting to catch the ball and someone hits you, guess what's going to happen if you don't have a strong core?
They're going to snap you in half.
Yeah, you're going to get hurt. And then you're out for a month or two.
Yeah, I learned that as a small player, you cannot be weak, especially in midair.
No, absolutely not. I tell you, when I was young, I was so conditioned and I was so strong that I could actually, I was stupid. I used to fall off motorcycles. I would, jump on a car while I was going forward. I'd hit the windshield. I would never get hurt. My body was so literally trained in such funny positions with resistance that really there was no position that would get me hurt. Now, unfortunately, now that I'm 56, I hurt all over now.
Yeah, I think especially in contact sports, the more ballistic the movement is, the better it is for training.
Yes. And if you can make up stuff, let me see, what was one of the things like with, I used to have, like, for example, I used to have a little bit of one of those heavy balls, soft balls, and I'd have the girls, the national team players, actually throw the soft ball like they were spiking. Okay, I would have them do that. I would actually have them set with a medicine ball, a volleyball size medicine ball. I'd have them set with I'd make up stuff. So if you can actually figure out, like, for example, if there's any offensive lineman on this group, what are you going to do as an offensive lineman? You're going to step right, you're going to step left forward, and you're going to stomp your feet, or you're going to step back with your outside foot or slide with your inside foot, and your butt's down, and everything's really short, stocky, and punching. So what are you going to do? Like an offensive lineman, what type of chest exercises are you going to do? Well, a normal bench doesn't do any good. Do a close grip. Why? Everything's inside. Okay, or a reverse close grip, or a one arm, because a lot of times offensive linemen will punch with one arm. So one arm dumbbell. So you got to think about what you're doing as a position. Defensive line. I coached defensive line for many, many years. It's a push and a pull. So I'd actually work a lot of push-pull exercises. Does that make sense?
Yes, coach.
Yes.
Now, I'm sorry, it's some of the guys that are speak French. I knew some words years ago, but I forgot a lot of them. So I hope you can understand me.
We'll try to translate later for them because, like, we will try to translate everything you said, coach.
I was in Paris years ago, and I learned a little bit, but unfortunately, I forgot a lot of it.
Yes. What is your opinion about like training in beach, like sand or?
Perfect. I live on the beach. That's how I get my conditioning now. I walk more than I jog, but I'm on soft sand. What does it do? It strengthens my ankles. It's not pounding. I don't have because I have some knee problems due to not playing. I blew my knee out when I was a coach, so and I didn't get an operation, so I have to be real careful. So when I do my conditioning, it's always on the beach. I never do it on hard ground. And I also will run in the water. I'll run in the pool or I'll run in the ocean.
Coach, can swimming help us with our performance?
Yes, but you got to train it just like you're training everything else. You just can't swim. You got to have freaking hard freestyle or hard breaststroke for 10 seconds. Go as hard and fast as you can, and then rest for 30 seconds. Then hard, okay, and that type of stuff. Go backwards hard, but you just can't swim because you're working slow twitch. Have you ever noticed?
So
Let me just finish. Have you ever noticed that when you see a swimmer, before they swim, they're up on and they're shaking their body and all that body fat's flapping back and forth?
Yeah.
Yes. That's not football training. That's slow twitch. And they have to float. If they had muscle mass as a football player, they'd jump in the water and they'd sink right to the bottom. So, yes, swimming, but you better do it just like I'm telling you, explaining how you're training for 10 seconds hard and do it differently.
Yeah, for every exercise, basically.
Yes. But yes, swimming's great. Now, be very, very careful. I never allowed my players to go into a swimming pool 48 hours before a game.
Why?
Chlorine. Chlorine's a poison. It gets into your skin. It gets into your bloodstream, and that's why you're exhausted after you get out of the pool.
So if I swim on the beach, in the sea, or on the
perfect.
beach, that's better.
Because it's saline. It's salt water. That's what your body's made out of.
Yeah.
But don't go swimming in a pool without chlorine. Terrible. In fact, a lot of places I was at, I always demanded a saline pool to work out the players, to change things up. And what I would do, if we couldn't get the saline, I would have them in the pool for a very short period of time during the winter, and I would have them jump up and down in the water, just like we trained for 10 seconds. They'd be trying to jump out of the water up onto the side of the pool, and I'd do that for 10 seconds. And then the next group would jump out of the water, that type of thing. Or I would have them hold the side of the pool and kick for 10 seconds really, really hard, and then turn around and hold it while they're facing up and kick 10 seconds. And then I'd get them out.
It's not easy.
No. But yeah.
It's even harder than working on this.
But yeah, the pool, great. But be careful with the chlorine because it's going to affect your performance if you're playing that week.
Coach, one more question for me. Can you give us more exercises for D-Linemen, please? Like on push, pull.
Okay. I would say, okay. All right. This is stuff I made up. All right. Now, close grip bench. You're like this, yes?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Reverse grip. Like this.
For bench
reverse
press.
Close grip. Okay. Those are 2 exercises. Close grip, reverse grip. Then I would actually have them do it this way. Do you see me?
Yeah.
Why? As a defensive lineman, one's pushing, one's pulling.
I think
So
for the
they would do
lifting-
a pull-up. Guess how they would do a pull-up? Like I said, the same way that they did the bench. So if you're doing the bench like this, guess what they would do the pull-up? Like that.
same way.
Yep.
I understand.
And then there's also a lot. I would do a lot of single leg auxiliary lifts, and also plyometrics, one leg plyometrics, not two legs. Because as a defensive lineman, if you're ever stuck on the ground with both legs on the ground, you're getting screwed.
Always gotta have that leverage or
Yeah.
incline.
You're going to be like this, so you better work out that way.
I see.
And also, very, very important that your body is conditioned the way you walk. You don't walk. I mean, this is another clinic. Football is everything. You know how we walk? It's opposite arm, opposite foot.
Yeah.
In the game of football, it's same foot, same arm.
Mhm.
So it's complete. So you're going to have to condition yourself same foot, same arm while you're doing stuff as a defensive lineman.
No, I got another question. Like, what types of exercises I have to do? Because the exercises that you told us about, if I just keep on doing them and doing them, I mean, I'm not gonna get the same results if I like.
Just doing the
Have it.
same exercises.
Yeah.
Yeah. What you want to do is every month you want to change up one auxiliary lift.
Oh.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
like for example, on chest day, I would have the players do close grip, reverse close grip, one arm dumbbell. Okay. And
Mhm.
some kind of push up with weights on the back.
I see.
Okay. Now, before I go, let me tell you one of the biggest things that really helped my fast twitch with my players. Okay. You have to pause. So if I'm doing bench press or squat, I have the players bring the weight down and pause. So I'd start out with 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3. Then they would lift as quick as they could. They'd bring it down. Pause. 1, 2, 3. Pop. Okay.
Coach.
On the squat, they'd go
Coach,
down. Seconds
we can't
to
hear
7
you well.
seconds. What's that?
Just your connection like glitched for a second, and
All right. Did you guys get the idea when I said pause?
Yeah.
yes,
Okay. So
Explosive.
what you want to do to work fast twitch is you want to pause with your exercise. So for example, when you're doing a pull up with a towel, I'd have them pull up, go down, pause. 1, 2, 3, boom. Then down. 1, 2, 3, boom. So you want to pause to make sure you're getting that. You're not using momentum.
yes. So basically, it's like the same rule as the 4-1-0 rule in
Yes.
it's like 4 second getting down 0 and you pause 1 second, 4 second getting down 0 and
Yes.
you
Yes. It's funny because you're studying all this. I made this up 30 years ago in my head. I'm sure it was around, but all this stuff I made up. I never went to clinics. Everything that I'm telling you is that I learned myself.
because recently they discovered that it's an efficient exercise for those kind of movements, and it's good. Like
Now, in season, what I would do is I wouldn't have them pause at the bottom of the lift. I would actually have them, like if they're going to do a pull-up at the top of the lift, I would say, hold it 3 seconds and then go down. And for example, if they're doing the bench, I'd have say, hold it 3 seconds and then go down and then lift. Hold it. So in season, I would do a complete opposite. But there's so many. Like I said, the only thing I ever looked at were studies. I never went to a clinic because clinics, they're just going to copy whatever they learned. Like a strength coach could be watching me and then copy it. It's just the same thing. I never went to a D-line clinic. I never went to a linebacker clinic. All I did was figure out how they moved, what they were reading, and I would do what I thought was the best way because I'm the one coaching them. So I would want to find out how I would coach myself to do the lift or the position. And if I could coach myself in a simple way, I know I could coach other people to do it. That's why I never went to clinics for the position. I would go to different clinics. Like, for example, when I was a D-line coach for years, I didn't go to a D-line clinic. I went to O-line clinics because I wanted to learn what the O-line were trying to do to defeat me. So I wanted to learn how to defeat them. So that's, like, for example, when I say make up stuff. Just make sure the guys are safe. You got a spotter, or the movement's not too extreme where they could get hurt. But make up stuff. Make up ballerina movements with freaking weight, or swimming movements with resistance. But with the pause, I had guys improve 100%. Literally scary. I had guys that were improving literally double the amount of weight they were lifting, squat and clean and bench. 100%, just double over 6-7 weeks. With the pause, with the superset, with having them push a weight that they're not used to, because most of them are going to be afraid to, or if they feel that they can't, then they're going to give up. You'd be surprised. Athletes give up in a second.
Yeah, coach.
You would think that athletes wouldn't give up. They give up the quickest.
I mean, I've had thoughts of trying to quit too. So.
Yeah, because you don't want, especially in front of people, because you don't want to look like you couldn't do it.
Yeah. And yeah, also, coach, is working with machines okay?
No.
No?
Not as an athlete. Unless you have an injury.
I see.
And if you're doing leg press, get away from it.
What do leg presses do? Because I've been doing those a lot on machines.
Okay, you got to be careful because you're going to hurt your hips. And you're going to find out that hips are everything. If you mess up your hips, it's going to mess up your digestion. It's going to mess up your sleep. It's going to mess up your legs. Like, I have hip problems now.
Yeah.
Because back in my day, free weights weren't really the thing. It was all machines. Universal, the leg press. And now I have hip problems due to doing a lot of leg press. Because when you're leg pressing, is your core getting stronger?
No.
Yeah.
No. Not at all.
Only later.
You're only working, when you're doing the leg press, you're working a body. I used to have my wife do a lot of leg press because she was a bodybuilder.
Yeah, it burns, but it doesn't get sore.
Okay. If you're lifting as an athlete and your muscles are burning and you're sweating, you're doing it wrong. And I know that sounds weird. And I tell my players when I first become a strength coach at the schools, I say, if you're actually burning, your muscles are burning, then you're doing it wrong. And I'm teaching you wrong. If you're working on your fast twitch, there should not be any burning. You should see the increase percentage-wise in your strength instead of thinking that a burn is good. Now, my wife, her muscles would burn where she would be in tears. That was good because she was a bodybuilder. Big difference. Total opposite.
Yeah.
Coach, I used to, when I started lifting for football, I used to Wendler's 531. I think it was a program for football.
Yes.
And I used to go the whole session without sweating. People were telling me I was doing everything wrong.
You're doing everything right.
My bench press went from 45 pounds to 180, and my deadlift went from about 135 to 275 in about five months. And then I thought that was what they were saying was right, but then I figured out that I was doing the right thing.
Exactly. See, the thing is it's so most people don't know how to lift.
I'm not gonna lie, I don't know how to lift.
Yeah, most people don't know. I would say 99.9% of the people don't know how to lift. They go into a gym,
Yeah, but
and usually the personal trainers at the gym are just there to pick up on chicks, you know, and they really don't care. So, like what you just said, you know, the what you learned, you're doing it the right way. But everybody was watching you going, wait, you're not sweating? No. Because if I'm sweating, I'm working my slow twitch, and I'm not going to become a better athlete. So you did it the right way. And now the thing is that misconception, again, if you're an athlete and you want to be a good football player, then you better lift the correct way. After you're an athlete, if you want to lift and burn the muscle and sweat a lot, that's fine. Go look good. And I don't have anything against that because I did the same thing. But the thing is just know that if you're going to do bodybuilding, lifting, slow twitch, you're not going to be a better football player.
yeah, and also
Yes.
the strength growth is slower.
Yes. And the thing is to me, if I'm getting you improving 5% a week in your strength and you're not getting hurt, that's like freaking awesome because I got 11 weeks with you. I'm sitting there going, this is great. You're going to be stronger and you're not going to be hurt. Beautiful.
Yeah, my problem is I've been working out for the past 5 months alone. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
nobody showed me how to lift properly or anything, so I just go seek out YouTube videos.
Well,
Yeah,
that's
my
not bad. But look up athlete workouts.
yeah, I was trying to increase my bench and all that, but that was it. I wasn't
The
doing
only
it
way
the
you're
right
going to,
way.
like I said, the only way you're going to get stronger is by rest, by good nutrition, and doing heavier weights when you worked up to it.
What?
If you're doing 8 reps to 12 reps to 15 reps, you might get a little bit stronger, but you're not going to get the gains that you would do with 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1.
Yeah, but with the 5 reps and 25 sets, you'd still get tired, right?
Yes, you will get a little bit tired because that's the start. You're conditioning yourself to work up to 10 sets of 1.
Let's see.
That's the exciting
I have a
time.
question, Coach.
When you get to 10 sets of 1, you're working 100% to 120 to 110 to 120. That means you're pushing some serious weight. When you're there at, let's say, 6 weeks and you're at 10 sets of 1, that's when my players got excited because they're going to see 100 pounds on their bench improvement.
Wait, you said 10 sets of 1, so 1
Yes.
rep for 10,
Yes.
10 times.
10 sets of 1. Pushing a weight they've never tried to push before.
Oh, I see.
They would have spotters too. Even if they couldn't push it, they would struggle for 10 seconds with the spotter.
So what you've taught us today is like powerlifting,
Exactly.
some sort. Yeah.
That's what football lifting is.
Yeah.
With
And you get-
more auxiliary lifts.
I see.
Yeah, pretty much that's what it is. It's the world's strongest man. That's
Yeah.
really what it is.
I see.
Well, guys, any other
Coach,
question?
is using 8 sets of 3 for your main lift is a good rep scheme?
Yes. It might be a little bit too much. I would do 5 sets of 3, maybe 6 sets of 3.
Right. And speaking of making things up, you spoke about a 1-arm bench.
Yeah.
I'm a very short player, so when it comes to blocking, I want to get stronger. So I'm using incline bench with 1 arm. Is that a good thing?
Perfect. Why is that good? Tell me why you think that's good.
Because I'm always lower than the other player, so I'm pushing up.
Yeah. Same
And
as
what
the
else? What
D-line.
other muscles are you using?
Using front shoulders.
Yes, and also your core.
Yeah, core and triceps.
See, what you want to do is when you get an exercise, you want to get an exercise that brings in a lot of different body parts. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Now, I used to tell my players when they do bench, they
Bench
can arch
uses
their
leg.
back. I would tell them to arch their back. I know that sounds weird. I would say, if you're doing bench, I want you to arch your back. Now, why do you think I would tell these players to do that?
So they can work their back too?
Yes, and also when you block someone, you're attacking somebody, what are you doing with your back?
Mhm.
Your back's not straight, it's arched.
Yeah.
So guess what? I'm doing a football movement.
So you're basically including more hip into the movement instead of being
Yes.
straight on the bench.
Guess what? When I'm doing the bench, they're working their back, they're working their butt, they're working their hips, they're working everything. I used to have strength coaches freaking pulling out their hair because I don't know if you know, but I got strength coach of the year back in 2011 in America, and everybody wanted to learn from me. And I'll tell you, I had strength coaches leaving my weight room crying because they were like, "You're doing what?" You know, they're seeing my players arching their back and they're going, "What are you doing? They don't have a belt on." I'm like, what does a football player do? They're not going to make a tackle like straight back. Come on.
I've had the same reaction like 30 minutes ago. Like,
It's
So-
now when they have test, you know, if I wanted to find out they're lifting and they're getting stronger, obviously on the bench I wouldn't have them arch their back. But all the rest, they're always arching their back. You know, like with the one arm, they're twisting, they're doing this. Well, because guess what? They're working their core, they're working balance, they're working their strength, they're working their shoulder. They're trying to get that weight up. I don't want them to be just perfect like this. That's bodybuilding. Like, for example, I was telling my wife's form was immaculate, but she didn't play football. So I hope you got something out of it. I mean, there's
Yes.
so much more, but the big thing is,
Yeah.
you know, learn the basics and then learn what you do as a football player and then try to get some kind of resistance with it and make stuff up, but make sure it's safe.
all right. So what I can do is just work with an empty bar just to like get a good form.
Yes. Now, when you do the Olympic lifts, that form better be perfect. Let me explain that to you.
Yeah.
Olympic lifts, form perfect. Deadlift, clean and jerk, all those perfect form because you can get hurt. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Auxiliary lifts, you can make up stuff where you're twisting, so on and so forth. But the Olympic lifts better be perfect form. I hate the power clean. You clean, that means you're bending down, flat foot. Okay? The power clean, people are going to try to get underneath it by widening their base. They're going to get hurt. I've seen more players get hurt from the power clean than anything else.
Yeah, all I do is like work with light weights and
Okay.
just power clean without having to like bend or go down.
Okay, good. Don't do any more than 6 reps.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And
All right,
also,
guys.
coach,
Oh, go ahead.
no, I got like a couple more questions.
Okay.
Is like going on the treadmill for like 15 or 20 minutes before working out. Is it a good thing?
You know what I would do? I would never have my players do a warm up with that. You know how I'd have them do a warm up? They'd
What,
get a kettlebell.
bicycle?
No,
Oh.
kettlebell, and they'd swing the kettlebell.
How does that work? I've never.
Well, I'm swinging the kettlebell. I'm swinging it through my legs. I'm bending. I'm squatting. I'm reaching up. I'm reaching back. Guess what? I'm warming up all the muscles, my core muscles, my arm muscles, and I'm squatting. And I have them do that for about 4 sets of 30 seconds, just to warm up and swing the kettlebell. And they're done. They're going into the lift. You don't want to. Okay. I always told this to my players. how often do you ever see a dog stretch before it chases a cat?
Like never.
Never. Guess what? The warm up, just get the whole body movement, get a little bit of a tingly sweat, and then get into your lift because your body's gonna get warm when it starts lifting anyway.
Yeah, so I was doing that because I need to catch up. I need to like improve my stamina. That's why I was doing it. So you're suggesting I should like have different sessions of running, like individual
Yeah,
sessions of
you're
running.
actually hurting your conditioning by doing that at the beginning of your workout.
I see.
You need to work out, have the conditioning, like I said, 10 seconds, okay? Have less rest and do different upper body conditioning, lower body conditioning, one leg backwards, forwards,
Yeah.
sideways. Do it that way. You're gonna be so conditioned if you do it that way. You're gonna be blown away.
All right. I
But
see.
the treadmill, terrible. I hate the treadmill. Because with the treadmill, what are you doing? You're just running forward.
That's true. What if I have an incline on it?
Again, that's just a hill.
Yeah.
Now, again, I would have my wife do certain exercises on the step-up machine. But again, but I would say just do a kettlebell, swing the kettlebell, because what are you doing? You're working your core, you're working your back, you're working your butt. In a way, you're warming up and also getting a workout.
I see.
So stop wasting time with something that really is not helping you as a warm-up. Do something that's going to help you as a football player.
All right.
Okay?
Yeah.
All right, guys, that was fun. I enjoyed it.
Thank you, sir. Coach.
Hey,
Thank you very much, coach.
Just get me on Facebook because there's so much other stuff. I mean,
Oh, wait, Coach, are you on the O-line D-Linemen group on Facebook?
yeah.
Yeah, I'm on that too. So
Okay. If you have any questions, ask me because I'll tell you, I came up with techniques years and years and years ago for a D-line, and it changed football. It changed D-line, changed it.
your name is Tim Tobin, right,
Yeah,
sir?
Tim Tobin.
I'll follow you right now.
Okay. And then
Thank
any questions on the D-line? Now, the thing is with the D-line, the O-line has to get better in your country so that the reads that you're going to do.
We have great O-linemen. Like it's just me.
Oh, okay. All right. So I can teach you some stuff. Just ask me because basically what I do is I read the foot as a D lineman. So if the offensive lineman steps with his outside foot, you know the play's coming to you.
Mm-hmm.
If he steps with his inside foot, you know the play's going away from you. So you just mirror the step.
I see.
If it's a pass, he's going to step with his outside foot backwards. If it's a run, he's going to step with his outside foot towards you. You know the ball's coming to you now.
Yeah, is knowing that it's a run game is like when he's like leaning more into the front.
I wouldn't even tell my players to do pre-snap read. They would know exactly what the play was. My defensive line would know exactly what the play was by the step. So, for example, if I had a guy playing the 3-tack, which is the lining up on the guard, and the guard stepped with his inside foot, my player knew it was a scoop or a trap by just because he stepped with his inside foot, the guard. He knew it was a scoop or a trap.
Yeah.
If he stepped with his outside foot, he knew it was an ISO, or he knew, and if he got pressure, he knew it was a power. So my players knew exactly what the play was by just the first step. That's how good they got.
Yeah, but for us,
I coached the D2 Player of the Year, and I also coached 2 D2 Players of the Year, basically, by teaching the stepping of the foot.
What we're told is just to do our contain and just don't mind them because we're beginners.
I mean, first of all,
now I'm starting getting into it.
You don't want to just go. The gap is the player's hip. So the player you're over, that hip's going to move. So, for example, if that hip goes inside real far, you better go with the hip because he's taking you to the play. So if he steps with his inside foot, he's taking you to the play. My backside guys made more plays backside because the guys were stepping inside and taking them to him, taking the D lineman to the play.
I see.
It takes time. I'm telling you, it takes time. I used to do clinics at University of South Carolina with Steve Spurrier. I had the D-line coach yelling at me going, "You just changed football."
Yeah, you just did like open our minds right now.
Well,
There's so many things.
sometimes when you do things like when I was a strength coach, I changed things so much. A lot of coaches were threatened, by it because it changes everything they do. And then when I was a D-line coach and a linebacker coach, by teaching the reads, I changed everything, made it simpler. And a lot of coaches want to make things complicated because it makes them look good when they sit there. And if they can get on the board and make things look real complicated, it makes it look like their job is, really important. Game of football is simple.
Just gotta give it dedication.
Yeah, you got to learn.
Yeah.
And when you learn it, then you can actually start breaking it down. Even like, for example, there's only really 7 run plays in all of college football and professional football. There's 7. And everybody's like, "What do you mean? There's way more than 7." No, there's really only 7. But all the stuff in the backfield is different. But actually the play is the same. But all the stuff in the backfield tries to confuse you. But there's really only about 7 plays in the total offense as running plays. And when you say that at a clinic, the coaches we're like, "Wait a minute, it can't be that simple." Yeah, it is. It's that simple.
Yeah.
See, what right now, a lot of the kids in other countries are so intimidated, but they think American football is complicated. It's really not. And that's what you got to do is when you start selling the game, you got to say that when you start learning more, it gets simple to you. And then you can say, "Hey, this game's simple. And when you get it, it's going to be so much fun." And, blah, blah, blah. Then they're going to love it because right now they're intimidated.
Yeah, just do what they tell you. That's
Yeah.
what they will tell me. Yeah.
All right, guys, get me on Facebook if you have any questions.
Yeah, sure. No, we won't hold you. Sorry
Thank
for
you so much, Coach.
You're welcome. And thank you
Thank
for
you,
listening.
coach.
All right, guys. God bless you. Bye.